Good Vach, it's Matzah Shabbos, V'Yakel Pkudei. I hope everyone had a good Shabbos. I'm going to record Masechta Shabbos, Daf Tes Zayin. We're up to the bottom of Tes Vavim with Beis Elamiyata. Our sugya is, the Gemara said that 80 years before Churban Beis Hamikdash, the Chachamim declared that Klis Chuchis, glass utensils, can be Makabel Tumah. The Gemara asked, and why was that? And the Gemara answered, because glass is formed the same way that clay is formed. Clay is formed from clay, from soil. Glass is formed from sand. Therefore, they have similar origins, and therefore the Rabbanan said that glass can be Makabel Tumah the way clay can be Makabel Tumah. The Gemara asked if that was true, in the same way that clay cannot have Tahara b'mikveh, maybe glass should not have Tahara b'mikveh either. And the Gemara answered that you're right. Glass does not have Tahara b'mikveh, except that if glass was punctured, that it leaked, and then you filled the leak with lead, you melted lead into the hole, because what now stabilized, what made the utensil workable, what made it good, was metal. Reb Meir holds hakoil hoylech achar amamid. What really counts is what makes the keli work, and therefore now it has the law of a metal utensil, and you can immerse it because it's called a metal utensil. So, in principle, glass utensils cannot have tevila, but in case the glass utensil had a hole and was fixed with lead, because the repair, even if it's a small repair, made it utile, so therefore it's considered a metal utensil, and it can have tevila v'mikveh. So we continue. Elamiyata, so based on that, if the reason why glass is Makabel Tumah is because it's similar to a clay utensil, loyli tamu migaban, glass should not be able to attract Tumah or receive Tumah from its exterior. Alama Tanan, why did we learn in a Mishnah in Kalim, Perik Beis Mishnah Aleph, Klei Cheres u Klei Neser, clay utensils, or Kalim made of neter? It's not clear what neter is. Some say it's a chalk-like material, some say it's alum, some say it's nitrate. In any case, it's something that comes from the soil. Tumos and Shava, clay and neser have the same laws. Mitamin u mitamin me avirehen. They receive tumah and transmit tumah via their airspace. If tumah is in their airspace, the utensil becomes tameh. If afterwards something like food or a beverage is in the airspace, it becomes tameh. Umitamin me'achayrehem. You have to watch that word. Me'achayrehem means, let's say the bottom of the utensil has a cavity, like cups or certain, sometimes there's like if you turn it upside down, it still has a container, so it's makabel tumah in that airspace as well. But vein mitamin migabeim, they can't become tumah from their exterior. If something tumah touches their exterior, they're not makabel tumah. Ushvirasan mitahartan, and when you break it, it becomes tahar. So it sounds like these two have these halachas. Kli neser, kli cheres, it's only kalim of neter and cheres, hu de tumas and shava, have the same quality. But glass is not like that. So whereas kli cheres and kli neser do not become tameh if tumah touches its exterior, glass will become tameh if something touches its exterior. And why is that? Why will glass have a characteristic that clay doesn't have? Amri, the Gemara answers, Kevon sins, dechi nishtabru, when glass breaks, yesh lem takana, you can heat the glass and smelt it and fix it, shavinu kekli matochis, then it becomes like a metal keli. Meaning, on one hand, it's absolutely true, we're not changing our mind, that the reason why the Chachamim gave tumah to a glass utensil is because its formation is similar to clay. However, because in one way glass is different than clay, when clay breaks it's irreparable, but when glass breaks you can smelt it and fix it. So there's a characteristic of glass which is similar to metal, therefore they also gave it tumah from its exterior. So again, I'm repeating, we're not changing our mind that the source of tumah for glass is because it has a similarity to clay. But since But since glass also has a characteristic of metal, that it's reparable by smelting a hole together, by fixing it, therefore they also gave it the halacha of Kabbalah Tumah from its exterior, like metal. We'll talk more about this as the sugya ends. So now the Gemara asks a new kasha. So we're finished with that. That's going to remain. Again, I'm repeating, the glass is Makabal Tumah because its formation is similar to clay, but it is Makabal Tumah from its exterior because it has one characteristic similar to metal, that it can be repaired by smelting. Now the Gemara asks another kasha. And this next kasha is going to have two terutzim. There's a halacha by metal that if metal breaks and you fix it, if the metal had been tamei and it broke, and because it broke, it's tahor. If you fix it, the tumah reverts. It's called the tumah reverting to it when you fix it. The Tanan, because we learned in a Mishnah, kli matachos, metal utensils, pshuteyan. If it's a flat piece of metal which doesn't have a receptacle, umekableim, or if it does have a receptacle, tmeim, it's mekabel tumah. Nishberu, if it broke, taru. Now it's tar, it's not a keli anymore. Chazar v'asamem kelim, if you repaired it and made it back into a keli, chazaru l'tumasam yishana, it gets its tumah back. The reason for this will be explained soon, but that's the halacha. V'ilu gabi klei zchuchis, but regarding glass, Tanan we learned in a Mishnah, klei eitzu, klei oru, klei etzem, uklei zchuchis, wooden utensils, leather utensils, bone utensils, and glass utensils, pshuteim tahirim. If it's flat and doesn't have a receptacle, it's tahor. Metal is makabel tumah, even if it's flat without a receptacle. These are only tumah if they have a receptacle. Umekableim tumeim, certainly if it has a receptacle, for sure it's makabel tumah. Nishberu, once they break taharu, it's tahar. Chazer v'asamem kelim, if you repaired it, mekabelin tumah mikan alaba. It can become tumah all over again. Mikan alaba ain. Only going forward is it makabel tumah, but lemafrei Allah, but not retroactively. So why is it that metal does have retroactive tumah? Not retroactive, I'm using the wrong word. It's the tumah can revert. When you repair it, the tumah that it had prior to being broken reverts to it. And why is it the glass doesn't have that halacha? If we're saying the glass is makabel tumah from its exterior like metal, because it can be repaired like metal, let it also have the halacha of the reverting of its tumah. The Gemara gives two answers. Answer number one. Tumas kli zchuchis midirabanan. We said that the tumah of glass was only rabbinical. It only started 80 years before the Churban. Tumah yeshana, this idea that tumah can revert when a utensil is repaired, is also derabanan, is also rabbinical. But tumah deraisa, metal utensils, that their tumah is biblical, achisu barabanan tumah. The Rabbanan imposed this law of the reverting of tumah. But tumah derabanan, lo achisu la rabbanan tumah. But glass, which is only mekabel tumah, the Rabbanan did not add that additional halacha that tumah can revert to it. Another question: Pshuteyan miyalitama. If glass has a characteristic of metal, then let a flat piece of glass be mekabel tumah as well. The same way that a flat piece of metal can be mekabel tumah. The pshutei kli matocha is deraisinenu, because flat pieces of metal can be mekabel tumah. The Gemara answers, Avdu barabanan akeira. The Rabbanan specifically said that flat pieces of glass will not be makabel tumah, although flat pieces of metal do. So you should see that the tumah of glass is only rabbinic. Ki heichid le'lisref alai truma v'kachim. So this will be a reminder that if truma v'kachim touches glass, which is tameh, which a keli of glass that was tameh, you're not going to burn the truma v'kachim, because you should remember that the tumah of glass is only rabbinic and not biblical. And how will you remember that? Because glass is only tameh from its exterior, similar to metal. Yet metal, when it's flat, is mekabel tumah, and glass, when it's flat, is not mekabel tumah. So you see, they're not the same. So the question is manishtana. The answer is because metal is biblical and glass is rabbinic. So if glass is rabbinic, don't burn truma v'kachim if it touches something which is only tameh rabbinically. Rav Ashi says lo'ilam l'chlicheres damu. You should know, as we said, that glass is similar to clay. Glass is similar to clay because clay is formed by earth and glass is formed by sand, so it's similar. That therefore glass should not be makabel tumah from its exterior, and the answer is glass is different than clay. In clay, you can't see through it. You can only look into the interior. But in glass, since you can look from the outside to the outside is considered like the inside, and it's makabel tumah from its outside as well. Let's pause now and regroup. That's the end of the sugya. It started with the question why the Chachamim 80 years before the destruction of the Beis Hamikdash declared the glass as makabel tumah, and the answer was because it's similar to kli cheres. Cheres is formed by clay, by soil, and glass is formed by sand. So the two in their formation are similar, and therefore glass is makabel tumah. The next question was, so if clay cannot have tevila b'mikveh, glass should not have tevila b'mikveh either? And the answer was that you're right, glass does not have tevila b'mikveh, but the only time that it has tevila b'mikveh is only if you had glass that had a hole and it was repaired by metal. Reb Meir holds, since it was repaired by metal, it now has the law of a metal utensil, and only then does it have tevila. But unless it's repaired by a metal repair job, it's really glass and doesn't have tevila b'mikveh. And that's the end of that. So one more time, glass is like clay, except in case it had a hole and it was repaired with metal, then it gets a din of metal and it has tevila. But having said that glass is like clay, the Gemara's next question was why is it not makabel tumah from it? Why is it makabel tumah from its exterior? Clay is not makabel tumah from its exterior, and glass is. Why is it different? So the Gemara answered two answers. One answer is because since glass can be repaired like metal, so it also has a characteristic of metal. The other answer is that since clay is not see-through, but glass is see-through, so therefore glass is makabel tumah from its exterior. So we have two reasons why glass is makabel tumah from its exterior. One is because it can be repaired like metal, so it becomes similar to the law of metal. And the other is because since you can see through, so the exterior of this kli cheres is like its interior, and it's makabel tumah even in its exterior. Let me explain a little bit. There are different materials. There's metal, then you have wood, or leather, or bone, and then you have clay. When it comes to metal, even if it doesn't have a receptacle, it's makabel tumah, because metal is a valuable material. And because it's a valuable material, its value gives it chashivas, that's value, and if something tamei touches it, it's tamei. Wood or leather or bone is not as valuable. So when does it become an object of value? If it also has a receptacle. So the material is not as valuable as metal, but if it has a receptacle, it's valuable enough that it's makabel tumah. Clay is valueless. It's earth, it's soil. The only thing that gives it any value whatsoever is only that it is a container. It contains something. And that's why cheres was given the ability at least to be makabel tumah in its container space. If tumah is in its container space, it's makabel, it's matama the keli. If afterwards an oichel is in its container space, it's makabel tumah. So we have three levels of tumah. You have metal, which is makabel tumah even as a flat surface, because it's a valuable metal. Other materials are makabel tumah only if they have a receptacle. And a kli cheres, which is of the lowest and cheapest material, is only makabel tumah within its receptacle. But there's a chiddush that it's makabel tumah even in its airspace, which other things don't have. But the Torah said, here I want to emphasize that the whole value of this kli cheres is only that it has a containing ability. Having said that, if glass is similar to cheres, but glass has a quality over cheres, that you can even see glass from its exterior. So since glass has a quality over cheres, therefore, Rav Ashi said it's makabel tumah even from its exterior. Because cheres, its value is its interior. But glass has a value from its exterior as well, that from the outside you can see what's inside. So that's an additional value. That's value plus. So if it's value plus, even though Midaraisa it's not makabel tumah, but when the Rabbanan gave it tumah, they said let's give it tumah on its outside also to emphasize that now this has a value not only in its inside, but it can even see from the outside through. Now let's go back to the Gemara's first teretz. Really, it's a kli cheres, and the reason why it's makabel tumah from its exterior is not because it's glass and you can see through, but it has a quality of metal. So because what's its quality of metal? That it can be repaired like metal. So therefore, since metal is makabel tumah from its outside, so glass can be makabel tumah from its outside. So the Taisus explains, we're still claiming and insisting that glass is similar to clay, because its formation is similar to clay. But because it can be repaired, it also has a quality of metal, and therefore it's makabel tumah from its outside. In Cain, it comes out very interesting. According to Rav Ashi's teretz, the glass is really clay. The only reason it's makabel tumah from its outside is because it's see-through, but since it's clay, it does not have tahara b'mikveh. It doesn't have tahara b'mikveh, it won't have tahara b'mikveh, it never has tahara b'mikveh. The only time it could have tahara b'mikveh is only if it has a hole and you sealed it with metal, and according to Rav Meir, it now becomes a metal keli. But otherwise, if not for that odd case where it had a hole and it was sealed with metal, it can't have tahara b'mikveh, because kli zchuchas glass is like clay and nothing but clay. But according to the first answer of the Gemara, it's really similar to clay, but it has the characteristic of metal as well, because it's reparable. So therefore, Rabbi Akiva Eiger says, listen to this, that if it becomes tamei from its interior, by the way, that's a machlekes or rishayim. When we say the glass is makabel tumah from its interior, does it actually mean that it's makabel tumah within its airspace, like cheres, or only if something touches its interior? But that's another issue. But if it becomes tamei in its interior, and its tumah is like a kli cheres, it won't have tahara b'mikveh. But if it becomes tamei from its exterior, which I'm enabling it to become tamei from its exterior, because it's similar to metal, then if I'm going to be machmir, that it's mekabel tumah in its exterior like metal, I can't be machmir more than metal. And if metal has tevila b'keli, the zchucha should also have tevila b'keli. Again, short. According to Rav Ashi's teretz, glass is clay. If glass is clay, except it's makabel tumah from its outside because it's see-through, clay and glass has no tahara b'mikveh, unless it had a hole and was repaired by metal. But according to the Gemara's first teretz, glass is like clay, but it also has a quality of metal because it can be repaired, and that's why it's makabel tumah from its outside. So will it be able to have tevila b'mikveh or not? It depends. If it became tumah from its interior, which its tumah is similar to its clay characteristic, then it can't have tevila b'mikveh. But if it became tamei from its exterior, which is because of its similarity to metal, then it will be able to have tahara b'mikveh, says Reb Akiva Eiger. Shimon ben Shatach tikin ksuba l'isha, v'gozer tuma al klei matches. Shimon ben Shatach was masaken a ksuba for an isha, and he was also geyser that metal is tamei. We discussed previously, what do you mean Shimon ben Shatach made a ksuba l'isha? It's a machlekes whether ksuba is deraisa or ksuba is derabanan. So if ksuba is derabanan, he was masaken a ksuba. If ksuba is deraisa, what he was masaken is, what they used to do is a man got married, he set aside an object or something of value for his wife's ksuba. And if he got mad, so he took the object that he had dedicated for the ksuba and a divorce contract and gave it to her, and l'chaim l'shulam was over. The Chacham always wanted to slow down people's temper, so therefore Shimon Shatach says, instead of dedicating an object for the ksuba, he writes, all my assets are meshubah to the ksuba. So now if he divorces his wife, he has to start liquidating assets, which is a shlep, so therefore he'll cool down and will save the marriage. And he was gozer tumah on klimatchas. Klimatchas deraisinenu, metal to be makabel tumah is biblical. The Chsivit says when they came back from Midian, achas azov v'sakesef, there was gold and silver utensils that they brought back, and they had to be metarit. If it was Thomas Mace, they had to spray on it from ashes of paraduma and water, and then they had to toivel it. So metal is mekabel tumah deraisa. Here we go. This is our famous case that we mentioned before, the reverting of tumah. Rav Yudah said in the name of Rav, Masa b'Shel Tzion Amalka. She was called Shel Tzion or Shlom Tzion. Shasa Mishta Livna. By the way, she was the sister of Shimon ben Shatach, who was married to Yanai HaMelech, and she outlived him by 10 years. But anyway, at one time she made a Mishta, a party Livna, V'nitmu kol keilel, the utensils all became tamei. So this clever lady, being Reb Shimon Shatach's sister, she knew her halachos, so she shvarasan unisanasan latzayrif. So she made a hole in it, and she gave it to a smelter to repair, v'ritchan, and he smelted it and fixed it. V'osmem kelim chadashim, he made new utensils, and she's ready to party. Amru chachamim yachzuru l'tumasan yishanim. The chacham said, you know what? No, it's not going to work, this trick, and we're making the tumah revert. My Tama, what's the reason they made the tumah revert? Mishum geder mechatas naguba. Interesting. Because normally, how are you matar kalim that became tamei tumas meis? You have to spray on it b'yam shlishi, b'yam shvi from mechatas, and then you toivel it. It takes 7 days. She had a party that night. So the clever lady went and broke it and fixed it, so now it's Torah for that night. The problem is, anybody that's going to be in a rush, doesn't want to wait 7 days to be matar with mechatas, is always going to try the break and fix method. So therefore, we're going to forget about mechatas. So that's an interesting reason. But hani chalamanda amar loy lechol tumas amru el tumas meis b'vada amru shapir. That's if you hold that the reverting of tumah only applies to kelim that are tumas meis. Then I understand. Since tumas meis normally requires 7 days, the break and repair method is immediate, so people will use the break and repair method and forget about being mazeh b'shlishi yeshvi. I understand. But if the halacha of the reverting tumah halacha is regarding all tumahs, if a sheretz touches a keli, where all you have to do is taivel it and wait for nightfall, and it'll be tor. So then you don't have the problem of people using the break and repair method instead of having to wait 7 days, because you wouldn't have to wait 7 days anyway. All you have to do is taivel it, and it's okay at night, for truma v'kachim even. So then why should Kalim have the halacha of reverting of tumah? Abaye and Rav have 2 different reasons. Either gzeir Hashem lo yikavenu b'chadei ta'arasai. I'm afraid people who use the break and repair method maybe might not make a valid hole. Rashi says that the hole should be kemaitzi rimoin. A hole that's matar, a metal utensil, is if a pomegranate falls out. Some say that that size of a hole is only on wooden utensils, maybe metal utensils has a different shear. Anyway, whatever the shear is, we're afraid that people who will use the break and repair method won't make a hole that's big enough. So therefore we don't like the break and repair method, and therefore we say the tumah reverts. Rav Amar Rav says, Gzeir Shema Yaimru, Tvila Bas Yaima Ailula. Interesting. People know that the keli was tamei, and in the afternoon they see somebody's using it. They're not going to know that you used the break and repair method. They're going to think you toiveled it. And you're going to use it for truma or for kachim. Normally you have to wait for nightfall. So people will think, the Chachamim said you don't have to wait for nightfall anymore. They're not going to know that the reason it's being used in the afternoon is because it was broken and repaired. So therefore they said if you break and repair, the tumah reverts. Because if you're going to use it right away that afternoon, people will think that when you toivel, you don't have to wait for nightfall. Nobody knows exactly how you are matarit. My beinai, what's the difference? Ika beinayu dertzafinu mirtzav. What happens if you smashed it and then you fixed it? So, if the reason why we have a law of tumah reverting is because people might not make, because people will think that you toiveled it and now you didn't wait for nightfall, but evidently you can tell on a keli that was smashed and that was repaired that it's a brand new keli. So people will not think that you toiveled it, you didn't wait for nightfall. They see that it's a brand new keli, not the one that you had before that was tamei. On the other hand, if the reason is because we're afraid the hole won't be big enough, so even if you smashed it, loy plug rabbanan. The rabbanan did not differentiate and said whenever you use the break and repair method, the tumah goes back. Why? Because I'm afraid you won't make the hole big enough, even if you smashed it completely. Let's review again. The Gemara says Shimon Shatach was misakin tumah on metal utensils. Isn't that midaraisa? Where it says he was misakin tumah yishana, that if you use the break and repair method, tumah comes back. Why did they make this rule? In case the keli had tumas meis, the reason why they made the rule that the tumah reverts is because if people will be matar by breaking and repairing, people will forget about mechatas. Instead of waiting 7 days to spritz, they'll just break and repair, and people will forget about the halacha of mechatas. However, what if it's not tumas meis? So why did they say that the tumah reverts? So there's 2 reasons. One reason is because maybe you won't break it adequately, and the other reason is people will mistake the break and repair method with tevila, and they'll say that even by tevila you don't have to wait for nightfall. The difference between those 2 reasons is, if it's because we're afraid you're not going to break it adequately, then we're always going to be geyser that the break and repair method doesn't work. But if it's because we're afraid people will say tevila doesn't need nightfall, if you break it completely, people will see that the reason why you're using it in the afternoon because it's a new keli. This is not simply a keli that was taiveled. Now, so far we've listed 9 cases of the Yudches, of the 18 cases where Beis Shammai and Beis Hillel argued. Beis Shammai had a majority and they overruled Beis Hillel. V'idach Mayi, where are the other 9? So the Gemara starts listing. The Tanan, a Mishnah, and Mikvois. We know that a mikveh in formation, if you pour in, we had that already before, 3 lugin of Maim Shuvin, it passes the mikveh. Just for Chazara, remember we had Machlokes Beis Shammai and Beis Hillel, and the 2 weavers who came from Shar Ashbais. Beis Shammai held it only disqualifies a mikveh if you pour in 36 lugin of Maim Shuvin. Beis Hillel said even a hin, which was 12 lugin, and the 2 weavers from Shar Ashbais said it disqualifies the mikveh even if you pour in 3 lugin, and that's the halacha. So here's the din. Somebody puts a utensil under a pipe to catch rainwater. Whether you put a huge vat or you put a small bowl. Even if you put stone or earth or kli glolim, where Rashi says, we'll get back to it, Rashi says it's glolim, here Rashi says it's marble. Although these utensils are not mekabel tumah, but that's not our issue. Paislin is a mikveh. When water goes into it, it's water that was received in a receptacle, and it is a receptacle. So if you now pour the 3 lugin into the mikveh, this qualifies the mikveh. And it doesn't matter echad hameniach v'echad hasheichayach, divrei Beis Shammai. It's whether you put it under the pipe in order to catch rainwater intentionally, or you forgot the keli there. The keli is a keli, the water is water, it's in a keli, and it disqualifies the mikveh. Beis Hillel mitarim b'sheichayach. And Beis Hillel says, no, if you forgot the keli under the pipe, then you didn't intend to capture water in that keli, you just left it there inadvertently, so then it's not called Maim Shuvim, because Maim Shuvim is only if you intended to capture the keli, capture the water in the utensil. Reb Meir says, Nimnu v'Rabba Beis Shammai al Beis Hillel, that the Beis Shammai had a majority over Beis Hillel, and they overruled Beis Hillel, and therefore it doesn't matter whether you intentionally put the keli there or you forgot it there, it'll count as Maim Shuvim, and it will disqualify the mikveh. In Moedim, Beis Shammai b'shachech b'chotzer shu tahor. Beis Shammai admits that if you just had a keli sitting in a courtyard, it's not under a pipe, and then it happened to rain, that for sure is not considered Maim Shuvim, because there you had no intention of catching water at all, not even in the back of your mind, you just left the keli outside. Amar Rabbi Yossi disagrees with Reb Meir, and he says that this cannot count as one of the 18 cases, because the dispute between Beis Shammai and Beis Hillel remained, and it was never decided, and Beis Hillel has the majority, I guess, and Allah is like Beis Hillel. So whereas Reb Meir said this is one of the 18 cases where Beis Shammai and Beis Hillel argued, and Beis Shammai overruled Beis Hillel, Rabbi Yossi says no. The Gemara now qualifies the dispute. Amr Rav Misharshi says the Beirav Amri, it was said in the yeshiva of Rav, everyone agrees that if it's very cloudy outside and the rain is about to come, and you put the keli under the pipe, for sure it was intended to catch water, even though you may not have said a l'shem yichud before you put it there, you just kind of dropped it off. But even Beis Hillel would agree that that's considered intentional enough, even though you kind of put it there unintentionally. It's too coincidental that now the clouds are gathering and you just happen to put the keli there. B'shas pizurovim divra kol tayrim. On a bright sunny day, if somebody left a keli under a pipe, even Beis Shammai's might that that's meaningless. That was really unintentional. Lenechleku, the machlokes is a very interesting idea. Elishenicham b'shas kishur ovim v'nispazru v'chazru v'niskashru. It was very cloudy, it looked like rain was coming, and you put the keli under it. So right now, if it would have rained, the water would have gone into the keli, everyone agrees that it would count as Maim Shuvim. What happened was the clouds scattered and became bright and sunny. And then the clouds came back again. So Marasavar Beis Hillel holds Batla Machshavtoi. The intent that you had when you put it there became negated, it was cancelled. Because you put it there because it was cloudy, it was going to rain, but then the rain disappeared. You just didn't have a chance to take the keli back from there. But your intent has become nullified, and therefore afterwards, when it gets cloudy again and it rains, it doesn't count. And Beis Shammai holds, since your intent in the first place was to put it there, so clouds come and clouds go and clouds go and clouds come, but eventually it rained, and it's considered intent, and it's considered you intended to draw the water, and therefore it counts. But I just want to point out a simple thing. When you poured it into the mikveh, for sure you intended what you're doing there. The question is, in order to be Maim She'uvim means you drew the water. So you drew the water does need some level of intent to consider water that was drawn. It's midrabanan. The Mayim Shuvim disqualifies the mikveh, but it takes some intent of drawing water. So if you draw water from a well, for sure it's Mayim Shuvim. Even if you put the bucket somewhere where it'll catch water, it also counts. The only machlokes in Beis Shammai and Beis Hillel, how much intent is needed? According to Beis Shammai, as long as the intent to catch water was there in the first place, then it counts and that intention remains. According to Beis Hillel, that intention is good as long as it would come when you intended it to come. But if it only happened later and there was a cancellation of the intent, it's bottled. According to Rabbi Yossi, who says that this was not one of the cases that Beis Shammai overruled Beis Hillel, so we're missing that 10th case of the 18 that we're looking for. So what will replace that case? Amar Rav Nachman bar Yitzchak, Af b'nais kusim nidas me'arisas and boibiam gazru. The halacha that the girls of kusim are considered nidas from the cradle, from birth, was made on that day. Let me explain. You know, everybody knows there's an old machlokes where the kusim really were converts or they were fakers. They never converted. We're going to hold that they really were converts, so they're Jewish. If they're Jewish, so a woman that's a nida is matana. Now, the kusim though did not believe the dam nida of a child will count. I'm adding another wrinkle. The Gemara Nida says, according to Reb Meir, Chashina L'miyuta, we're concerned even for a minority occurrence. And since it's possible, a minority occurrence that a girl, even as a minor, could see dam, so according to Reb Meir, Chashina L'miyuta. So Beis Shammai held, because the Kusim didn't believe that a minor girl could be Matama as a Nida, the Chacham were geyser that even a day-old Kusi girl is Matama as a Nida. Just be marchik from the Kusim. The Kusim felt that minor girls are not Matama b'nidas, and it is possible that it would happen, so we were geyser on all minor girls of Kusim that they're Matama b'nidas. Beis Hillel didn't disagree, and Beis Shammai overruled Beis Hillel. So now we have, the case is replaced. So basically we have three topics this evening, or this morning. The first one had to do with Klis Chuches being Makabel Tumah. It's because it's similar to clay. Why is it Makabel Tumah from its outside? Rav Ashi said in the second answer, because it's see-through, so it's Makabel even from its outside. And the first teretz of the Gemara is Makabel from its outside because it's like metal, because it can be repaired. The difference would be that according to Rav Ashi, says Reb Kiva Eiger, it would never have tahara b'mikveh because it starts as a kli charis, and it is a kli charis, it's going to be a kli charis, and therefore it doesn't have tahara b'mikveh. But according to the first answer of the Gemara, when it becomes tummy in its exterior, because of its comparison to metal, because it's reparable, then it would have tahara b'mikveh. The second thing we learned was that metal utensils have the reverting of tumah, either because I don't want to lose the concept of mechatas, or because I'm afraid it won't be broken properly, or I'm afraid if you use it in the afternoon, people will think that when you toivel, you don't need hair of shemesh. And another possible case of the 18 cases was the machlokes Beis Shammai Beis Hillel. If you put a keli under a pipe when it was cloudy, and then the clouds went away, and then the clouds came back, and it rained into it, according to Beis Hillel, it would not be considered Mayim Shuvim, and according to Beis Shammai, it would, and Beis Hillel agreed. And according to Rabbi Yossi, that was not resolved, and it's not one of the Yud Ches Davar. What was resolved was that a girl, a kusis, is metame as a nida, even as a small child. Okay. Everybody should have a gitavach, a gezintavach, a good week, a healthy week, and we should only hear B'suras Taivas. I wish you all very well. And chazak v'nis chazek. We should be strong, we should strengthen others, and so we come out of this much, much stronger. This Shabbos is Parshas HaChodesh, and Parshas HaChodesh is the moon renewing itself, and we are compared to that. So even when times are down, we always renew ourselves. Every time there's a down, every time there's a night, it's in order to gain strength for the morning. We Jews are united not necessarily by handshaking and by hugging. We're united because we have a neshama, a chelik alakam imal, we have a Torah, we all descended from Har Sinai. That's what really unites us, heart to heart. Kultiv.